gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 14th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And a lot to talk about today, Matt. Obviously, we got the Virginia Tech game coming up tomorrow. But I thought we would start this morning with a little conversation about the article that's on the website that was done by Jim Martz in talking to a lot of the former players about how long it might take for the Miami Hurricanes to just get their act back together and get this whole, the latest incarnation of a reclamation project working at full steam ahead and start restoring Miami's place in college football. And earlier this week, we talked about the losing streaks and how, pretty much almost every year for the last 11, with a couple of exceptions, Miami has lost at least 3 games in a row. And the challenge for this weekend is not letting it get to 4. But in the big picture, everybody wants to know, when will the Canes be the Canes again? And that's a real subjective opinion. I mean, I could sit here and say, well, at Oregon, Mario inherited a 4-8 team, and he took 2 years and they won the Rose Bowl. I mean, we can use that as an example. I'm not sure that applies, Matt, to the current situation. It's a whole different challenge here, a different place, obviously. So I thought it was kind of cool to get all the former players' opinions and your thoughts.
I really just want to get in a time machine and go 50 years in the future and find out what year they'll be back, because if it's not going to happen, like, I'll just retire right now. I don't need to sit here and cover a team that's struggling forever. It's been a hard 20 years, Gary. It's been a hard 20 years,
man. I mean, you think about that. We have been doing this entire 20 years, and man, I mean, it is just, you start a new year, and I thought they could be a 9-win team this year, and I guess technically they still could, but whoever would have imagined that we wouldn't have graduated past losing to Middle Tennessee State? You figured they might drop a game somewhere. North Carolina was certainly a candidate because they're one of the better teams in the Coastal. But man, to lose 3 straight like this, and we're sitting here, you're almost like scared what's going to happen in Blacksburg.
Look, for those of you that believe in evolution, the very few of you that believe that are watching this, and listen, Gary was almost there when that first amoeba crawled out of the ocean. I don't think it was an amoeba, but it's just like evolution. This is a process, and it's survival of the fittest, and it's up to Mario Cristobal to figure out who survives and who doesn't. And that's not just players; that's on the coaching staff too. After this season, and really after every season, it's on the head coach to do a thorough evaluation. In the past, we've seen coaches that hired their sons to be the quarterback's coach. We've seen coaches who refused to fire their best friend who they decided to bring as a defense coordinator. They turned a blind eye to the problems in their own program because it didn't suit them and their own personal interests. Finally, I feel like we have a coach who's a real jerk. And guess what? You need a jerk. I'm not joking. You need a jerk to be the head coach. You need a coach who was your best friend recruiting you out of high school. You know what? Sorry. I'll just make up a name. Sorry, Gary Ferman. You're not good enough for our program. I know we're best friends. I know I recruited you for 4 years in high school. I know I promised you'd be a star and go to the NFL after 3 years. You're not good enough. We need your spot for somebody else. I'm sorry if no one finds you in the portal. Your time here is done. Sorry, Coach Gary Ferman, your unit didn't do well enough. I don't see the improvement. We're going a different direction. This is what Mario will do. This is what
there's no doubt.
This is what Nick Saban does. It's a ruthless business, and it's a ruthless business because we're the shareholders. We're the ones investing our money to buy season tickets, to buy merchandise, to support the program. And if you're a shareholder, the guy who's the president of the company shouldn't be saying, "Hey, I'm gonna, here's my grift for my friends. Hey, I'm gonna skim off the top and just let my buddies, do whatever they want." Like that's over at the University of Miami. So that's now in place. Now it's on Mario to actually make the correct calls every single year for the next 2 or 3 years to get the system in place that will make Matt Shodell right and have this a playoff team within 2 to 4 years. Like he has to do it. He'll make the hard decisions. He takes the personal out of it, and it's about a business, man. And he works his ass off for one reason, and that's and he does work his ass off, and that's to make this team the best team in the ACC, and at some point compete with the best teams in the SEC. So until he gets to that point, he won't stop, and he won't stop then either. But again, I want that time machine because it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be really, really good, or it is going to implode in Coral Gables like nobody has ever seen before, because Mario will go down like throwing bombs all over the place. Like he will like take everybody out. He will sign 85 new players and bring in a whole new coaching staff if it's not working out the way he wants within 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's gonna be like as hideous as looking at the two of us this morning, or as pretty as it was when I was up, when I was covering the Rose Bowl. It was my first year working for CaneSport, and they said, "Listen, it's the Rose Bowl. Like, there's no seat for you, Shodell. You're in the stands." So they put me in the stands. They made a special Shodell row right in front of the press box, with the hookups for the electrical. And it wasn't just me; it was the other loser reporters who weren't good enough to be in the main press box. But I was fine with that, man. It was my first year. I was out. I actually prefer sometimes being in the stands. It's sort of cool, and I covered the Rose Bowl from the stands. And I will cover the Rose Bowl. I will cover whatever national championship game they're in. I'll be in the blimp. I don't care. I just really would like to see a team that I can cover again that's having fun and that wants to talk to the media for once. These guys are freaking miserable, man. Like Tyler Van Dyke, I swear I don't know how they get him to the podium to talk to us.
He looks miserable every time he comes.
The one day we could ask. I mean, they must have like whatever they thought they had on Donald Trump in Russia. Like that's what they've got on Tyler Van Dyke. Because there's no reason on earth why he would want to be there or should be forced to be there. But he's definitely being forced to talk to us. And, we'll see. Like when that time changes, these guys used to like to talk to us. They used to enjoy the banter with Matt Shodell and Gary Ferman. As stupid as the banter always is, like they enjoyed it. And it's just depressing when they're not happy, when they don't want to talk to you. Like it's not fun for anybody right now. So yeah, get me my time machine. Let me know what's going to happen, and I can figure out my own future. That would be really nice.
Well, Mario might be willing to blow things up, but first he's got to survive and get through this season. And he hasn't looked, he's looked very tired. I mean, he's clearly not sleeping very much. I mean, he's clearly not very happy, which he shouldn't be. And like the more you peel the onion back, it's like, where's the positivity? Like, the quarterbacks have been erratic. I mean, the quarterback has been erratic. It was great last game, or much better. I think he still has a whole nother level he can get to. And he's like the least of the problems. I mean, you look at the offensive line. Did you see those pictures that they posted on our website today? Some of our subscribers, they took snapshots of a play where half the offensive line is in its stance and the play is already being run. I mean, how does that happen? I was obviously watching the game. I didn't realize that had even taken place. And
it's reverse psychology. It's genius. If you don't move, maybe the defense guy won't move either. It's genius.
Genius. How does that happen?
You're a whole new style of offense. It's called the don't move and maybe they won't move offense.
Well, there are trick plays like that.
I know, but they're not like that. It's
not like that.
Half the offensive line moves, the other two guys don't.
I mean, I have never in my life, and the running backs. Jalen Knighton's supposed to be one of your best running backs. He keeps fumbling, and he's had a big part of these losses. To be totally honest, I mean, he left a touchdown on the field at Texas A&M that would have been a huge difference in that game. He fumbled, as you know, late in the fourth quarter here against North Carolina. I mean, this is a guy you were counting on to be a dude, and he has been having a miserable season. The receivers, we don't have to talk too much about them. We already know. The Tight ends, you've lost Arroyo, who is looking so great. Will Mallory is playing hero ball right now. He struggles as a blocker. I mean, where's the positivity, Matt? There's a little positivity on the defensive line with Darryl Jackson and Leonard Taylor. They graded very well last game. There's one problem. They're on the field like barely more than 1 out of every 3 plays. What is going on there? Look,
this is the most inexplicable thing that I've seen, okay?
Well, wait, I'm not done yet.
All
the
right,
linebackers we know is one of those challenged areas of the team. The defensive backs have given up 6 bombs for touchdowns in the last 2 games. Matt, okay, now you can speak. Where is the positivity? Find it for me. I mean, can you imagine being Mario Cristobal right now? I mean, he looks tired. He looks miserable because he probably absolutely is. I'm sure he is up 20 hours a day. I'm sure he is apoplectic about what he's seeing. He hires this elite coaching staff. The team looks like it's not being coached. I mean, somehow, some way, they got to find a way tomorrow in Blacksburg. But man, I mean, back. I mean, how do you predict when this program's going to be back? With all this stuff going on.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, man. I gave you the first 6-7 minutes.
That's a bald-faced lie.
I mean,
that's
I started thinking about it as we're talking here. I'm like, where are things going well?
Talking to you is like the interview that was done with Anna Sorokin. You know who Anna Sorokin is? Anna Delvey?
No.
Inventing Anna, the show. So there's a real life Anna Sorokin, Anna Delvey, whatever. She was a socialite in New York who basically conned.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, I did see that.
Okay. This is why the interview they did with her the other day is like talking to you, because literally part of the interview, they asked her, if she was sorry, if she said sorry to anybody for what she did, because she's out right now on the house arrest, basically. And she said, "Oh yeah, I apologize.
But I haven't done anything, Matt. I'm not playing."
Oh, who'd you apologize to? And she says, "The bank. I'm just sorry for some of the decisions I made." And she says, "I didn't defraud any of my friends, just the banks." And they're like, "Oh, you don't sound very sorry about that." And then somehow it comes up. They said, "Well, you did convince your friends that." That you were an heiress, some sort of German heiress or whatever. She says, "No, I never told anybody that. They just assumed it," which of course makes no sense, because why would anybody assume some person from Europe is an heiress without you saying it? And Gary Ferman, you saying I got the 6 or 7 minutes of the show is about as credible as Anna Sorokin / Delvey.
We're 12:39 in the show. I ranted for 2 minutes.
You told me I got the first 6 or 7 minutes. I beg to differ. But anyway,
I ranted for 2 minutes. I got I started thinking. My brain started working. I'm like, wait a minute. We're talking about Miami being back, and like we're here in year 1. And I mean, Mario's got to be just beside himself at what he's inherited here.
I mean, as Anna Sorokin would say to you right now, you're so basic. Anyway, what I was going to say, and you don't know what that means because you didn't watch the show. You didn't watch it, so you don't know what that means.
I did watch it.
This is the most surreal part of the whole season. And this literally, to me, sums up the entire season. Just this one thing, okay? Frank Ladson was named the College Sports Information Director of America, Player of the Year, Award Watch List for Comeback Player of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year Award Watch List. What exactly is he coming back from? Because he's never done anything before this. Isn't the comeback player you do something really good, then all of a sudden you have a bad year, you're hurt, and then you come back and do something great? Like, he's done nothing. He's been a backup his entire career, and now he's going to be the comeback player of the year. Why don't they give it to any player who just has a good first season at any junior year, senior year, sophomore year, redshirt sophomore year? Like, that sums up the season. The whole season is inexplicable. I don't understand how they lost to Middle Tennessee.
I did just think of a positive.
What's the positive? Oh, that's the positive?
No. I did just think of a positive. It just flashed into my head. The recruiting class is sticking together to this point.
Oh, yeah. Look, if you really want to find positive, there's positives. I mean, you can find silver linings in different areas. The roster is not terrible. They're just not playing like a team. They didn't gel together. Disconnect. I don't know if it's on personal levels with the coaches. There's a disconnect. I mean, obviously there's a disconnect.
They can't start the plays on time. They can't hold on to the ball. They can't cover anybody. I mean, you can look for silver linings.
Yeah, but other than that, they're doing great.
Yeah, and the guys that are doing great are only on the field 1 out of every 3 plays. Whoever's managing those rotations should really. I think it would be good if they reevaluate. I just think they got to have the best players on the field. I mean, you don't have enough good players in the program right now. If Leonard Taylor and Darryl Jackson are playing as well as Pro Football Focus is saying that they are, which I'll concede may or may not be true. I mean, it's all in the eye of the beholder and the person that's doing the evaluations. They got to be on the field at least 2/3 of the plays, not 1/3. I mean, so hopefully, Matt, we do talk about the Canes being back and get all the opinions of the former Canes, and Jim Martz did a great job on that story. It's on the website right now. But I want to turn this conversation back into what does Miami need to do tomorrow to reverse this whole thing that we've been watching for a month now, and get things going again like they did last year, to their credit. And they started peeling off victory after victory, almost saved Manny Diaz's job along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is obvious. We both know the answer, Gary. It's obvious.
What's that?
You have to start Jake Garcia.
Oh, don't start that again, please. We just moved past that point.
The whole point is there's no easy answer. Like I said, and like you agreed, it's a myriad of issues. You can't just all of a sudden correct them all. If you correct 1 or 2, great. But Virginia Tech's no good. Virginia's no good. Duke's no good. Like, just correct a couple of the issues. Like, maybe this time have 1 big bust at cornerback, instead of 3 or 4. Maybe this time, Jalen Knighton's got some fumbling issues. Maybe don't give him the ball in a key situation. How about that for a change? Maybe give Thaddeus Franklin those carries to spell Henry Parrish a little bit, because it gets in your head when you're fumbling, right? And other teams see on film he's fumbling, how he's carrying the ball. Hey, when Jalen has the ball, rip it out of there. You know how it gets with any player at any level when you start fumbling. It's in your head. So you got to make sure he doesn't have the ball running it in a key situation. I'm sorry, but that's true. Until he sort of gets that confidence back. So that's just a couple of examples, but obviously you need Colby Young and Frank Ladson to do something on offense. I think they're both going to wind up playing quite a bit. If the wide receivers can't do anything against the Virginia Tech defense, it's not terrible. Virginia Tech's problem is their offense. Their defense is okay. Probably a little above average, honestly, and certainly above average in the Coastal. Probably about average overall in the ACC. But you have to get some things done on your own offensive side. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to honestly score more than 17 points. I put that in my prediction on one of these threads for the people that still bother to post on the message boards. Thank all of you for still posting on the CaneSport message boards.
Message boards has actually been pretty good. We only had
I know people like
to ban one guy.
It's weird. Like, it's weird when they lose.
No, 2 guys.
Well, when they lose, a certain segment of the posters come out, and when they win, a different segment of the posters come out. It's like 2 different sides that want to share their thoughts depending on what happens. Because some people get very upset when they lose, which is something that Tyreek talked about very eloquently, I thought, in yesterday's blog with him. And then when they win, there's the people who are like, "I told you they're great. What were you all worried about? It's all great now." It's the positive Pauls against the negative Nancys, Nellies, whatever. And it's a constant, ongoing, fun battle on the CaneSport message boards, depending on the game and the day.
Well, I was doing the You Bet CaneSport show with Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports, and that's also on the website right now. And he made a comment that I thought was interesting. We were talking about Virginia Tech, and he said, and this is a guy that studies these teams like really hard and puts a lot of time into it because he's got to be able to pick games involving pretty much every major team in the country. And he said, Virginia Tech is terrible. Okay. And he's taken Miami laying 7 points in his predictions. And so the opportunity is there, Matt. I mean, it's there to kind of try to turn this thing around, and you win, you get to 3-3, and you could just try to stack weeks, momentum. Duke, Virginia, and get yourself into November in a semi respectable state of mind. change the narrative, and then people can get excited about the rest of the season and see how it goes and the whole thing. It's so critical for this program that they are able to do just that. And are there any like specific, you've taken a look at it, or any specific keys to this game that you see?
I mean, in this game in particular, matching up against Virginia Tech, they're just like I said, they have one decent receiver, so you got to probably have a safety over the top of him. There's no one else on that offense making plays, like period. Nobody else on that offense making plays. So take him out of the game. You're in good shape. I'm sure they're gonna try to stop the run first, but Virginia Tech's okay at the run, nothing great. And then on offense, Miami just has to make plays. Like, it sounds easy to do, but they have to be in sync, and they have to. The weird thing to me, it feels like their offense has been so bad, but they're averaging 33 points a game. They're averaging 467 yards a game, which I think is even more than under Lashley. I didn't look, but I think off the top of my head, it's at least around the same number. So it's not like they haven't been productive, but they're just productive at the wrong times. They're very productive against Bethune-Cookman. They're very productive in the second half against Southern Miss. They're very productive in the second half against North Carolina, at least yards-wise, and moving the ball more than North Carolina was. But it's just they haven't put anything together. And it was the same problem they had, under the guy who shall not be named. Like, there's not that consistency of play. When Miami was a championship team, it wasn't one quarter where they were really good or two quarters. It was all four quarters, except for those. There was always that one weird game, that weird BC game a year. The one weird game a year where you just knew some average team was going to just play close, but Miami would find a way to win those. But those full games where the talent's just that much better at Miami, that doesn't exist anymore. And if you're not going to, have the scheme, I mean, you and I were talking about the other day, Miami's starting out these games with coaches just calling plays that don't seem to be catching anyone by surprise. Their defense isn't doing anything that seems to be causing anybody any problems at the start of games. And that's honestly, I don't want to call anybody out, but I'm going to just mention two names, Josh Gaddis and Kevin Steele, because that's their job. That's their job, is to have a game plan in place. You start the game with a game plan based on what you saw, and then you can change it from there if you need to. You tweak some things as the other team, they call it a chess match, whatever. But whatever it is, like, you have to start somewhere. And where they're starting is not the right spot. And for someone like Kevin Steele, it's shocking because he's so experienced. Josh Gaddis, you can give him a little bit of a pass because he's young. He didn't call plays at Alabama. He called plays at Michigan, but they were just a running team. They weren't trying to do anything spectacular other than scheming up the run. It's a much different animal at Miami, much more intricate in how they have to play because the offensive line's not quite there. They don't have a power running back like he's used to. So he's not in his comfort zone. And it shows because Tyler Van Dyke's not in his comfort zone. That's not a surprise when your offense coordinators, you can just tell his personnel doesn't match what he likes to do. It's no surprise that the players under him also are a little bit, shaky. Whether it's
at least they got a little better last week. It did. Yeah.
But
so hopefully they could build on that.
You're okay, but you're also mistaking that the North Carolina defense. You're acting like the North Carolina defense was as good as Texas A&M's or who was the other team?
Middle Tennessee.
It's all blended.
They're probably as good as Middle Tennessee.
Texas A&M. So Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And even Southern Miss, I would argue had a better defense than North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina's defense is really bad. It's great that Tyler looked good because look, it's easy to throw off-target passes, right? Even if a guy's wide open, it's easy to still throw off-target passes. Guys were wide open all over the field, but he threw on-target passes. That's important, and he did it. But to act like he passed this major test against North Carolina, I would argue Virginia Tech's
it was improvement. It was a step in the right direction.
I would argue Virginia Tech's a bigger test, still not a big test, but a bigger test.
It's on the road.
On the road, and it's a better defense. That's not saying much against the North Carolina defense. It's one of the worst in the country, but it is a better defense. And Tyler's got to still show the same poise. Maybe there was something going on those first four games that we're unaware of where he just didn't look right. And he looked right last game. Now he's got to look right again.
Yeah, I think the key was he slowed down. Like he was much more under control. He wasn't overthrowing his balls. When he could put finesse on the ball and make it easier on the receivers to make the catch, He did that. This isn't the National Football League. These guys don't have elite hands. In the NFL, they can catch those, bullets coming at them with that type of velocity. This group of receivers can't. He finally, I think, started focusing on that and accepted that, and the results were there. I mean, he was throwing much more catchable balls for the most part, and so hopefully he can just keep building on this and get back to being the Tyler that we remember from last season. All right, we have a couple more stories to talk about today, but first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey, Jordan, are you feeling all right?
Hey, you sure you good?
Hey man, how you feeling?
I feel really dizzy.
Do you have Life Wallet?
I do have Life Wallet.
Program activated.
Hey, Jordan, you all right?
Actually, I'm great because I have my Life Wallet.
I just noticed, I've seen that commercial a whole bunch of times. I just noticed they had a logo on the basketball court. That was pretty cool. But all right, so anyway, Matt, so we do have some other stories on the website. This morning we have a story on Akeem Mesidor, who's enjoying a strong season so far despite Miami's slow start. So don't miss his thoughts. And then we dive into some recruiting stories. We have a story this morning on Chaminade Madonna running back Davion Gauss, who's set to be on hand for the Miami FSU game with some of his teammates. And he talks about his recruiting status and what he sees in the Hurricanes. And also, we have a story with 4-star wide receiver recruit Chance Robinson and where he stands. So make sure to check that out. And we also are ramping up basketball coverage because the season's getting closer and closer. And we'll talk more about this as it gets here. We're not going to get too into basketball here right now. But we do have a feature on the website today on transfer guard Nigel Pack and what his arrival means for the Hurricanes basketball team. And the one thing that I'm noticing, Matt, is Jim Larinaga, who couldn't be coerced to brag on his team last season at this time of year, that ended up going to the Elite Eight. He can't stop bragging about what he's seeing in practice right now. There is a bounce to his voice. He is fired up about the type of team that he thinks he's going to be bringing into the game this year. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, privately, he told me they're going to be terrible, but that he has to put that out there because otherwise fans get upset. So, no, yeah, they should be really good. It's going to be an exciting team. Last year, going into the season, it took a little while for the team to gel. And I think that, as much as people want to say, oh, it's going to be great from the start, I think it's going to be the same thing because, as much as you practice and all that other stuff, at the end of the day, they really only have back two major pieces of the team, right? And you got to really get Nigel Pack and Omir as really sort of honed in how they're going to play, especially with Isaiah Wong, right? Nigel and Isaiah, they have to be able to play off each other because they're both very similar in terms of how they score, but they should be able to try to set each other up. Last year was just Isaiah gets the ball, everyone clears out, and he just makes some ridiculous, weird
this
layup.
Year, Nigel is going to make it easier for Isaiah because they're going to know they better stay with Nigel because if they collapse on Isaiah, he's kicking it out to Nigel, and Nigel's the best shooter in the country.
Correct. So, yeah. So if he can, I'm hoping Isaiah can hit some jump shots because Nigel, unlike last year, Nigel will be able to drive, kick out to him for open shots, I think. I think teams are going to have to really collapse down on Nigel. He's very fast. He can really shoot. So it'll be really interesting, but I'm sure Jim Larinaga knows what he's doing. So he's going to get these guys plenty of opportunities. They should be a very fun team, a fun team to watch.
Very fun team.
High scoring. The issue, like it was in the past, if it's going to be an issue, it'll be defense. That's been their Achilles heel in the past. Last year, they sort of got it figured out with the scramble. But really, Charlie Moore was the guy on the scramble. I mean, he was the best at it. And, we have to wait and see how that goes,
Well, I'm looking forward to next week. They're going to have basketball media day next week, and we're going to get to watch practice. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Big day for the Canes. Tomorrow we will have complete coverage at CaneSport.com all through the afternoon and evening. Wish for the best. Let's hope that the Miami Hurricanes can start getting their act a little bit better together and can go to Blacksburg and take care of business tomorrow at 12:30. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for starting your day out with us this morning, and we will see you on this show again on Monday morning, but we'll see you on the website all weekend long as we discuss the Virginia Tech game. Have a great day, everybody.